Berkshire News and Politics, bringing you the news and the key issues affecting your area and your community, from Reading to Bracknell Forest, Wokingham, Slough and the Royal Borough of Winsdor and Maidenhead. We're here to keep you informed and empowered. Today we hear about a major U-turn in RBWM arts funding following a petition by residents supported by none other than Russell Brand. Furious residents at RBWM's controversial borough local plan threaten further action. Thousands of flats and homes planned for Reading Town Centre. Reading and Bracknell Council dropped the ball on planning. How you can influence the future of your local area, and a new walk-in vaccination venue in Wokingham. All here on Berkshire News and Politics. We're joined now by James Bagley, the local democracy reporter for the Royal Borough of Winsdor and Maidenhead and Slough Borough Council area. James, welcome back.
Thank you very much, and thanks for calling it the Royal Borough of Winsdor and Maidenhead.
I know you're very proud of your role there. So, James, RBWM has spent a lot of time in preparing their budget, and in their budget, they planned to cut funding to Northern Farm, the arts venue, and also to the Old Court to nil. But they seem to have changed their mind. What's going on here?
Yeah, so in a bit of, just to give you some background, in the build-up to the 2022/23 budget, the council have made it clear to Northern Farm and the Old Court that the council don't really have the funds to go ahead and give them money. So what the council was planning to do is look at ways to, specifically Northern Farm, make them self-financing. So a report has come out on Northern Farm from Counterculture. The council have paid Counterculture who specialise in the arts and look at their business model. This report has been fully published yesterday by Northern Farm, so not the council. And it's quite eye-opening actually that if the council withdrew 100% of its funding, which it was planning to do as part of this year's budget, the Northern Farm would cease being an arts venue, massively impacting the community and schools as well, because they use it. And what it would become is a hall hire, so businesses would just simply hire it out. So it'd be a shell of its form itself in that regard. Many people are calling this a U-turn now. So the council now funding them £115,000. That, when I mean by them, I mean Northern Farm, and the Old Court will be receiving £25,000.
It's very unusual for a council to change their minds this late in the budget process, because they're always telling people, well, the budget has been set. If we take this money away, we've got to find it somewhere else. So what made them change their minds?
Well, I think with the council, they would say this external report has made them change their minds, looking what the art space and market is like within the Royal Borough. But I think what opposition members, and I think indeed campaigners and members of the public would, or at least some members of the public would think, is this public campaign for the arts. So they launched a petition which got nearly 5,000 signatures, and it was spread across the country, I would argue, because comedians like Russell Brand have been sharing this petition, urging the council to rethink this, because as we all know, COVID's had a devastating impact on the arts, and this isn't really a time to pull funding from the arts during this time.
Great to see so many residents, up to 5,000. It's great to see Russell Brand and other big name celebrities and highly profile people supporting local residents on local issues in the areas that they live in. That's fantastic. But I understand that someone else has also weighed into this campaign now.
Yes, I think you mean about Theresa May as well as Adam Afriyie. So Theresa May has been with the campaigners on their side, actually. She believed that Northern Farm should receive funding, fearing that it could go, because it's a massive asset and a massive value to the community. And Adam Afriyie, in terms of the Old Court, same sentiments really, but he hoped more that the council could find a way, whilst to fund the Old Court, but at the same time find a way to keep council tax at its lowest, as it's always historically been.
Okay, in the Royal Borough of Windsor Maidenhead, which has led
Mhm.
to, I understand, campaigners, lots of other issues. So, when was the last time Theresa May got involved with a local campaign like this against her council or against the Conservative council?
I have no idea, to be honest. When was the last time that's been the case? I think last time it's been the opposite. Really, was when the Royal Borough objected to the third run rate of Heathrow, and she was quite in favour of that, from what I remember. I did ask the council that. The response I got were, to quote, "These two organisations have always had different levels of council funding as they are operated on different scales and on different models. That's reflected in the budget proposals for 2022/23.
So, fairly obscure response.
Yeah, guess you could say that.
Yeah, okay. Oh dear, oh dear. Let's move on slightly. So, is this long-term funding or is this one-off funding? Are we going to be here again in a year's time and requiring another petition and requiring Theresa May to wade in again?
I think in terms of the pushback that's been given, and even the council leader, Andrew Johnson, said that this has opened up a new era of partnership with the arts, not just Northern Farm, but also the Old Court as well. That he sees these funds coming forward is more of a social investment. He doesn't like to use the word grants, what he said in the cabinet meeting. So I think
Okay.
see this as a long-term thing rather than a short-term
So
thing.
has he committed a time frame or has he just used the word investment as in, well, we can make a one-off investment? Or has he actually said, no, we're here for the long term, we commit to?
Well, no, he just said social investments.
And how have the Northern Farm team reacted to this news?
Yeah, they're very welcomed of it. Given that they were expecting nothing, so to be given £115,000 is quite a win for them, and
Yeah.
ways for the Old Court as well. I know there's been people who've been a bit, shall we say, saddened that they've been given £25,000 rather than making it equal to Northern Farm, but they seem
Mm.
happy from what they've got. Keeping in mind both venues were
Okay.
expecting
So
nothing.
both teams are happy because they've got something rather than nothing. So, James, where can people find out more about this story, which seems to be still unfolding?
Yep, so you can look it up on the Windsor Observer online. It has been out in the papers already, so if you can find a paper from a week ago, then then you can find it there as well.
The next news item was the borough local plan. And I understand that recently there was a big meeting in council at the Royal Borough of Windsor Maidenhead to approve or to consider for approval a plan which would look at all development occurs in the Royal Borough over the next 10 years. Now, I understand there's some drama at the meeting. What happened?
Yeah, so people saying this is a farce, this is stop lying. When Conservative councillors primarily were displaying the borough local plan.
Well, why were they protesting if it all seems like it's a fantastic plan and everyone's rubber stamped it?
Now, the most controversial site of them all, and was mentioned quite a lot in the meeting, is the Maidenhead Golf Course. That site specifically, not including Harvest Hill, is for over 2,000 homes, a school and GP practice, and 40% of those homes are going to be affordable. So the council arguing, well, we need this site because A, it's near a train station, it's a very sustainable site. B, we desperately need family homes, and not only just family homes, but affordable homes as well. And this is sort of just the best site to do it, but campaigners are saying, well, no, because your housing need calculation is off. It's halved over the years, and also keeping in mind of COVID and the way we work, you could just build on brownfield sites and offices that are empty because we don't need them anymore. And Maidenhead Golf Course should be a great park for everyone to enjoy and suck up all the carbon because we're in a climate emergency. And with this if this development goes ahead, we're going to see increasing cars, some more air pollution, and more flooding as well, because it sucks up all the rainwater and sort of our natural drainage, as it were. And where the wildlife going to go? Where's the deer and slow worms and birds going to go once that land is gone?
And I understand that there were 2 or 3 very vocal people.
Yep. So I've spoken to a few residents from the Albury estate who live near Spencer's Farm. So that, just to give some context, Spencer's Farm is earmarked for up to 330 homes and a primary school. Those group of residents aren't very happy with that because they believe the flooding issue specifically is going to get worse for them if that development goes ahead. And just like Maidenhead Great Park, they're considering legal action against the council.
You said also like Maidenhead Great Park protest group. I understand that a number of their supporters were quite active in asking questions on the night. Do you know the points they were trying to make? How were they received by the council laws? And what next?
Why are we building on the Maidenhead golf course? Because our housing need has halved over the years, given COVID, etc., etc. You're doing the opposites of when you declared a climate emergency in 2019. What's the point if you're building on Greenbelt? But the councillors, Councillor Coppinger and Council Leader Andrew Johnson, have both said in their own ways, well, we need this site because, say we keep Maidenhead Golf Course, well, we'll have to release other Greenbelt sites that won't give that number of housing, so the over 2,000 homes. It's going to cause more traffic jams, etc., because you got more cars coming from different sites rather than one.
Okay. Now, I understand that during the meeting, a number of the local authority members declared themselves to be directors of a joint venture company. And it's that same joint venture company who's working with a developer to build these 2,600 homes. How did residents respond to that?
Yeah, well, it should be clear. It should be noted that they were all cleared by Emma Duncan, who's the managing officer, who said that they could vote. But yeah, residents sense that there is a connection that may have altered the vote a little bit, and that's one of the legal considerations that they are looking into to try and overturn the borough local plan vote. So they've only got essentially almost about 4 weeks left to actually file in a judicial review or a petition even to take this to court. But it depends how much weight they've got on their argument on why this should be overturned.
Okay.
But that depends on the barrister advice, which they're trying to raise money for.
Okay. Now, it's fair to say that we're going to be speaking to Kerry Glenn, who was one of the vociferous protesters on the day, and also to Professor Paul Strzelecki and Tina Quadrino in the next episode to find out a bit more about some of their concerns in greater depth. So come back and speak to us and listen to us next week for the news, for more information. And of course, James, where can people find out more about your stories?
Yep, so go on the Winsdor Observer website, or you can follow me on Twitter at BagleyLDR to find out more. Okay,
and is there anything interesting coming up this week?
Yep, so actually speaking of Kerry Glenn, I've been speaking to him in residence about the Spencer's Farm development and what their thoughts about it are.
James Bagley, thank you.
No problem.
So we're over to James Aldridge, who's the local democracy reporter for a very wide area, James. You've got Reading, Wokingham and Bracknell Forest.
Yeah, all of those areas.
And here you've got some interesting things happening in Reading.
Big news in Reading. Yeah. Lots of houses coming in the pipeline. Developers have submitted sort of a pre-application proposal to build 900 homes to replace the Forbury Retail Park in a bit of a prime location in Reading Town Centre. So it's very close by to Reading Prison, Forbury Gardens, St James's Catholic Church. It involves demolishing current existing retail space and replacing it with 900 homes, which I believe will be spread across 11 residential towers. Just to reiterate, this is just a pre-application proposal, so no plan has been submitted to Reading Borough Council yet, but the developers are sort of scoping the proposal out to see what residents think about it.
Okay, so it sounds as if there's a consultation for these new tower blocks, but it'll certainly continue to change the landscape of Reading and make it less urban and more cityfied, if you like.
Towers are more closely associated with cities than they are towns. There is a lot of housing going in that area, and a lot of it is flats. So there's the Huntley Wharf development, which is going up at the moment. That's for several hundred flats, and this new development would be literally over the way from that. Even more flats could be coming to Reading and coming to a location very close by to Reading Town Centre. The iconic Forbury Gardens would just be over the road from this new development if the developers decide to go ahead with it.
And have you had any comments from the developers about the consultation?
Well, they're excited. They're excited to reveal the plans, and they're encouraging people to get in touch and respond at this early stage ahead of them submitting a planning application.
Okay. Have you got an address or an email address where residents or listeners can find details of the consultation and make their response to the developer?
The proposal is called Kings Meadow View. So if you search Kings Meadow View into your search engine, then you'll find a sort of development website, and you'll be able to make your feelings known that way.
Okay. And of course, consultations usually aren't quite what they seem, so they tend to guide you to an answer. They don't ask you whether you like ice cream, they ask you which flavour of ice cream you like. So because of that, I would say to residents as well, contact your local councillors, contact your local council if you want to have a wider say. But thank you for that. So I understand there's a bit of an uproar in relation to another 600 home plan to replace Aldi in the range. What's going on there?
So this one is for 600 homes to replace the Reading Station Retail Park, which is immediately next to Reading train station. The owners of the land, which is the Aviva Pension Fund, they've applied for outline permission to build 600 homes and a sort of mixed use development to replace the retail park, which has Range, Aldi and also TGI Fridays, if people are aware of that in Reading Town Centre.
Yes.
They submitted those plans a few years ago, I think in 2020. They never got determined.
What you mean by that is the council, once you submit a plan, the council or the planning authority has only a specific amount of time to say yay or nay. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's right. Reading Borough Council's planning department ended up, or planning committee, I should say, they ended up not making a decision on it. Which led Aviva, the developers, to appeal against this non-decision, and now the ultimate decision will be made by the government's planning inspectorate.
And of course, this is quite shocking because it's likely that the planning inspectorate will say yes, that's fine, without any sort of caveats whatsoever, which the planning department or the planning committee could have placed to mitigate any damage or harm from the development. That's a bit of a cock-up, isn't it, by Reading Borough Council?
Well, I mean, it's their view that they were trying to negotiate with the applicant, Aviva, to figure out some of the issues that they had with the development. However, Aviva have gone ahead and appealed the non-decision instead. I think Reading Borough Council's view is that they don't agree with the proposal. Earlier this week, they sort of had an opportunity to say what they would have done had they been given a decision on it, and they chose to reject it for some of the issues. They didn't like how no north-south pedestrian and active travel route link had been made within the plans, and other issues. And so Reading Borough Council, they would have rejected it anyway, but now they don't
But they
get to
didn't.
pass judgment on it. Yeah, no, they don't get to pass judgment on it. The judgment will be made by the planning inspectorate.
Okay.
Planning inspectorate will take into account what Reading Borough Council has said, but there is a bit of a risk that the planning inspectorate side with the
So maybe
developer.
that's the reason for holding the meeting, or rather shutting the stable door after the horses bolted, was to hopefully try and influence in some way the inspector's view. Is that sound like
Effectively,
what's
yeah.
happening there?
I think that's probably a fair way of putting it.
Wow, is all I can say. Now I hear that the iconic Harris Arcade has been sold.
Yeah, it's been bought actually for £9 million from the by the company called AEW. So not only have they purchased the Harris Arcade, they've also published the block that it's within, and that also includes the Revolution Bar, which is quite highly rated on TripAdvisor, and also the Pitter and Piano, both two popular bars which have survived the pandemic. And so they've effectively got new landlords now. I think that it generated a lot of interest. We haven't heard much from the new owners on what they want to do with it yet, but it's probably interesting times ahead, because the Harris Arcade is a character building in Reading, but many of the units are unoccupied.
Okay. So watch this space.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. So let's move on to Bracknell and Bracknell Forest. And I understand that we've spoken about the local plan in Wokingham. We've had an interview with James Bagley and a number of the people in relation to the borough local plan, which is the same thing for Winsdor and Maidenhead. Now, I understand that Bracknell has now submitted its local plan, and the inspectors who are appointed to look at it have come back with some comments.
Yeah.
I hear that they've got an issue with the housing supply. Is that right?
Well, yeah, I mean, they're questioning whether the plan provides a 5-year land supply for the period of time that the local plan runs for. The local plan runs until 2038, but the planning inspectors have questioned whether enough sites have been allocated to generate.
So in one sense, I suppose residents and the local council should be quaking in their boots, the thought that they don't have sufficient land supply, because everything might get passed from now on to make sure that they've got a land, the houses are developed. Does that sound?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
worried?
I mean, without a 5-year land supply, developers can select areas which they want to build on, and they've got a higher likelihood of being approved. Because the councils need to approve housing development, so they're meeting their house building targets.
Yeah,
it's a bit of a thing where central government policy bleeds over into what the local councils have to do.
Okay, so what has Bracknell said about this? Why have they not got a 5-year land supply?
Well, I think it's because they haven't got enough sites allocated for development. As far as I'm aware, that's my understanding of it.
Have they said anything at all, Bracknell?
Not so far. They'll need to respond to the inspectors' questions, so we're kind of waiting for that. And hearings on the local plan about it are due to take place this May.
Okay. Again, it's another sort of worrying situation where the council perhaps can be seen to have dropped the ball, which might lead to some unfortunate developments occurring. I hear that as well. There is another issue that the inspector was asked about.
Yeah, that's the statement of common ground for Wokingham Borough Council hasn't quite fully been finalised yet. Is where the two neighbouring councils have to agree on things, and they have to agree with the principles of a local plan and assess things, because homes that in the future could be built in Bracknell could have an impact on Wokingham Borough if, say, for example, people travel from between the two areas for work and that sort of thing.
And even through with RBWM, I suppose, in terms of Gillett's Hill.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So the Gillett's Hill plan is for 2,000 homes. and that's near the Royal Borough of Windsor and Maidenhead. There have been concerns from the Royal Borough that this 2,000 home development could have an impact on traffic in local roads in Windsor and lead to a negative impact. That's quite a controversial proposal within the Bracknell Forest local plan. So these statements of common ground have to be arrived at or agreed, so that the local plan can be sound effectively.
Okay. So again, we watch this space to see what the situation is, how Bracknell Forest responds, and what impact a failure to respond might have on the validity of the plan, which can go one way or the other. But at the moment, it's looked like it's all going in favour of developers, unfortunately.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see how things progress.
Great, thank you. Now, the new vaccination centre. Tell me about this in Wokingham.
Okay, so Wokingham now has a walk-in vaccination centre, and they haven't had one for a while. So it means that people have had to make appointments to get vaccinated or attend pop-up vaccination centres, which are done on mobile buses. Now, the on-demand vaccination centre will be located at the Wokingham Library in the town centre. This vaccination site will be open on Fridays, Saturdays and Sundays for people to get on-demand vaccinations when they would like to. So
these COVID vaccinations, are we talking about the standard ones plus boosters? And is it Pfizer, AstraZeneca? Is there a range being offered here, or would you just turn up and get what you're given?
It's probably the latter. I don't know that, but the vaccinations on offer have not been specified so far.
So well done to Wokingham for that. And if you need to get vaccinated, pop down to the library.
You can look on the Bracknell News, my Bracknell News article for times on that.
Okay, James Aldridge, local democracy reporter for Reading, Bracknell Forest and Wokingham. Thanks very much for bringing us all that news. How can people find out more information or read these stories?
Well, all my stories, as a rule, get published on the Reading Chronicle and the Bracknell News. Every now and again, my stories go up on the BBC and also Reading Today and Wokingham Today, who are beneficiaries of the local democracy reporting scheme. If you want to get in touch with me, my Twitter is at James A. Journo. And my email address is james.aldridge@newsquest.co.uk. So that's how you can get hold of me. But in terms of my articles, they're all on the Reading Chronicle and Bracknell News.